Alrighty, man. How's it going? We got Shane O'Connor here to interview today. So we are having a bit of a racer chat with Shane O'Connor from New Zealand. So we're crossing the ditch for today. How's it going, Shane?
Yeah, it's going good, man. It's dark here now, so I think you're 2 hours behind, are you? So I think it's probably still light there, but it's
I
good,
think
man.
it's just starting to crack on dark.
Oh,
So
yeah,
people
nice.
that don't know, so the Australian viewers and stuff that'll be sort of checking in and all that sort of stuff at the moment. Shane, you've been racing for a damn long time. I'll get you to go through all that in a second, but prominent racer within New Zealand, multiple New Zealand national champs. You've raced over in Australia a fair few times, over overseas, US, Philippines, the whole works and jerks. So I mean, for New Zealand at least, there's probably no need for an introduction, but introduce yourself for the Australian viewers especially.
So my name's Shane O'Connor. I've owned Outlaw RC for the last 12 years. I've raced for 25 years, I think, this year. Raced RC cars. Really enjoy it. Love it. Obviously, to do it for this long, it's something that I'm hugely passionate about. So it turned into a business, like I say, about 12 years ago, to be able to better support people. And, when I was young, I used to struggle to get stuff and struggle to get good support. So once I first started traveling, realized what's actually out there, and it's like, man, we're a bit behind in New Zealand at the time, so had to step up our game here, and traveling to these meetings, seeing what they do, learning what they do, was a whole nother level than what we do here. So bringing back a bit of that knowledge really, and then turning into a business and better supporting our guys here, guys and girls, to get them racing and doing laps, having a good time. So just pretty passionate about the sport. Love all the old stuff behind me and love all the new stuff, and brushless, 10th, 8th scale. Anything's my jam, really. Anything off-road on the dirt, having a skid sliding sideways is what I'm all about. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I do actually see a couple of old school cars there. We have a bit of a vintage craze going over here. Do you have something similar going on over there at the moment?
Yeah, we do. We do have the vintage craze going on more. The price of stuff's getting out of control on some things, but definitely the vintage craze, all these guys making all these cars and stuff. I haven't personally raced it myself. I love collecting them and stuff. I've got about 20-something of my own vintage stuff, but more just like looking at them at the moment. I think I'm 35 now, so maybe in the next 10 to 15 years, once I get slow at 8 scale, I'll probably drift into some 10th scale vintage myself personally. But yeah, it looks like a hell of a good fun, and there's a couple of tracks to here running almost every weekend, so it's really cool to see.
Yeah, sweet. Actually, you mentioned a fair bit about A scale then. Have you been doing sort of more A scale than 10 scale as of recently? I haven't seen a huge amount of posts of the 10 scale side of things.
Yeah, I did China Worlds. That was 3 or 4 years ago now. I really built up and tried to have a good go at that, and had a couple of top 40s. But yeah, 8 scales is my personal, where I enjoy, traveling, doing like the Philippines Masters, DNCs, Silver States, Perth Worlds, the pre-Worlds at Perth that we did, all that sort of Aussie stuff that we did with all my mates, like the Shane Mangus and Gizzy and all that, like when we were going hard out doing all those meetings. That's where we really thrived. And, there was a lot bigger meetings for 8 scale. I come over and did I think it was a state title 10th scale we did, at Logan that year. Maybe you were there, I think probably 6-7 years ago now, maybe. And it just didn't seem as big as what your guys' 8 scale is over there. So for me, 8 scale, I kind of took off on that trajectory, because, you go to those meetings with McBride and Paney and all those guys that were there racing, 5 or 6 years ago, and the competition was just out of control, for Aussie, we were pretty good here as well. But 10 scale's big here, probably south of Auckland. Indoor 10 scale's big in Auckland. So on carpet, they're getting 140, 150 cars to a club day on carpet. But on the dirt, it's a bit hard. But in the North Island at the moment, our weather, we're constantly flooding every 5 seconds. We've had 3 major floods that we haven't had in the last 5 years. We've had them all over the summer. So outdoor 10 scale and 8 scale has been a little bit hard just because of the weather lately here, but we don't have the beautiful sunshine that you have there. So
yeah, usually have at least. Last few weeks have been a bit wet. So a bit of a change for us. Cold, wet as well, which is not fun for the Gold Coast. We're not used to this kind of weather. I feel like I'm over in New Zealand at the moment. So racing yourself, you mentioned that you've been racing for quite a long time, obviously. Like how long roughly, or do you know pretty much precisely how long you've been racing for when you started and that sort of side of things?
Yeah, about 25 years. I raced speedway, so TQ midgets and stuff as a kid, and had a major 3/4 midget crash at Western Springs Speedway and really hurt myself. So I had to have a year off after that. That's when I sort of felt the itch to do something else. And that's when I picked up. I had RC cars as kids, like we all sort of did bashing around, but the competitive side took over from the speedway, and having that year off with broke my back at Western Springs and had to have a year off, and then got into RC cars basically. There's a place called the Papakura Radio Show Car Club with Trevor Reed, Stuart Grant, a couple of those sort of guys were running it back then, and then sort of got into it, and the love of it took off from there. So started working at a place called Go Fast Models in my holidays to do a bit of school holiday stuff, and then really start to work on them, and then took off from there. And that was about 25 years ago, so it must have been about 14, 15, 16, somewhere around there. And then started on the nitro straight away. So wasn't the best thing as a 15-year-old kid. Definitely the people that come to me nowadays, I try and push them into the electric side of things because it's much easier. But back then, nitro, there wasn't a lot of good electric stuff in Auckland when I was growing up. So everything was mainly nitro. That was what was big. So that's where I sort of went on that path to go 8-scale racing. Same with my brother, my little brother Ryan O'Connor. He still runs every now and then. He races a sprint car pretty much full time now. He shows up and races, and like with Shane Van Gisbergen, I think about maybe a year after I started, he started in 10-scale electric indoor. So like on-road M-chassis cars. So we were about 16 years old, and our dads would drop us off at the on-road track. So me and my brother and Gizzy, and we'd go around and race our little mini M-chassis around, and that sort of took off on another trajectory of all of us hanging out back then as kids, playing with toy cars and having a good time. So
yeah, awesome. And as you mentioned before as well, you turned your sort of hobby / passion into pretty much your job with running and owning Outlaw RC. Like, how did that come about originally, and why did you start it? You mentioned that like there wasn't really good part support in New Zealand, so you thought you'd take it on yourself and give it a go.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the time I had bought a Team Durango 10-scale 4-drive, and I just bought it off online somewhere, and no one did it here in New Zealand. And I think I sort of really enjoyed the car, and then I had a couple of people, I was only probably 20, 21, 22 back then, and someone came up to me and said, "Oh, where can I get one of those?" And I'm like, "Oh, I can get one for you if you want. Like, this is where I got mine. Do you want me to sort it out for you?" It was an older gentleman back then. I can't remember his name, but he just wanted one, and he didn't know how to internet shop, 13 years ago, didn't know how to work the internet and stuff. So I just ordered it. And then all of a sudden it sort of took off from people going, "Oh, can you get me one as well? And can you get me one? Can you get me one?" And then it's like, "Oh, maybe I should do this as something." And, emailed Team Durango and got that distributor. That was my first distributor they got. And then about 6 months after that, rang Jason at J Concepts. There was very little tyre supply here. Hard to get tyres for 10 scale at Counties RC. When I was doing the 8-scale and the 10-scale. 8-scale was pretty big, and guys like Trevor Reed and shops like that were bringing in plenty of 8-scale stuff. But and then took on J Concepts, and it sort of spiraled out of control after that. And then started traveling and hooked up with guys like Shane Mangu and Derek Crane and a lot of buddies of mine that we started traveling with. And then it took off as we're on a plane 10 to 15 times a year, and we're racing anywhere from America to Australia to China to Philippines or wherever. We were just going where the wind blew us, really. But
no, exactly. And being on this side of the world, we feel it as well. Obviously, it's a big distances for us to usually go to the bigger events usually, but obviously the Philippines, it's somewhat close to home, which is nice. And when the Worlds came to town over in Perth, even though it still was probably it would have been a good 8-hour flight or something for you guys, probably at least. But it, in comparison to flying to the US, which is probably a multi-stop flight, 15-hour plus flight plus time in the airport, it almost would have felt like a home world for you guys as well in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it did. We had 11 or 12 drivers for it, when we only get allocated 2 spots. So Having all the Kiwis there, being able to do the pre-world's pretty easy. We can obviously direct fly, so that made it easy for us from New Zealand, was direct flying to Perth. We direct fly to LA anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But it was it was cool to have that. You know, a lot of guys that didn't race travelled over and watched and all that sort of stuff, and were trackside, and that side of it was pretty cool. And you know, they put on such a good Worlds there at Perth. That was great fun. So I think we had the FEMCA meeting there. I think it was like 6 months before we ran the FEMCA at Perth as well. So in the space of 12 months, we went there 3 times. A lot, me and my mates. You know, we flew over there 3 times to race 8 scale. You know, and I've never ever needed to go to Perth ever, but you know, you're over there 3 times in a row for toy car racing, and it was great fun. So we went over there like 2013 or 2014. We did a FEMCA there, and there was myself and Van Gisbergen, Shane Mangu, Kevin Dawson, bunch of other boys, and we had the hell of a time over there running that FEMCA meeting. It was great fun, and that was 10 years ago now. So yeah, right,
far out. Yeah, that time does fly. No, exactly. Okay. On with Outlaw RC. Once again, we've gone through sort of how long when you sort of started, I guess, in a way, or how you started it. So operating wise, you started up in roughly what year and that sort of side of things?
I think it was about 2010 maybe, roughly. Yep. Started doing it. I think I'd done for a couple of years before that. I'd done just here and there, but didn't start doing it properly, as in selling to other shops and trackside support, and setting up a trailer and trying to go to every meeting there is for 10 scale and 8 scale. That was about 2010 that I started doing that, and it really took off from there. So, met some awesome people over the first couple of years, and that helped a lot. Meeting those people, and then that pushed on to enjoying it more. You know how you do a job and you enjoy it because it's a job. It was sort of turned into not a job and just enjoying it because it was racing. And then I was just hooking up my mates and looking after people and then making some money on the side. And then it turned into this thing that was like really awesome, and I could really push what I wanted to do because I'm so passionate about RC racing that when someone with the basher would come along, I'd sort of, I'll help you out, but I'm not really keen on it. But then someone that wants to race and wants to do their droop right and their shock oils and their piston weights and their springs, and they really want to get into it, then my mind just goes, "Yep, let's go." I can sort you out. I know this stuff, and that's when I get those customers that come in and really want to know what's going on. Then I can go, "Yep, let's go." This is what we can do. This is how you're going to learn. This is what I've experienced, and you can really push on from there. Going to meetings like that FEMCA, the second FEMCA that I did, we had a test day on the Monday with Ronnie Falk and the designer of HB Torrance, and we had a proper Monday all-day test day. And for me, coming from New Zealand, the stuff they were doing, the things they were changing, and the way they ran their test day, I come out of that going, "Whoa!" It's like those two are like the Formula One of RC cars, right? The way they worked together back in the day. So, just see how they work and see what they did on the test day. It just blew my mind. So it's a whole nother level of what they do. So, that's about what I enjoy about it. So,
Yeah. Oh, we've actually had a question from Christensen Adam. G'day, Shane. Mitch. With the exception of the recent held New Zealand Nuts, is there any other big New Zealand meets that might be worth a trip across the pond?
Yeah, so for travelling, we run the Counties Cup at our track. We've run it the last 5 years. We missed it this year because we ran nationals. So that's e-buggy and nitro buggy only. So we're planning on running that again early to mid-February next year. We had I think the last time we ran it, we had 138, I think, cars, and that was just between those two classes and the e-truggy as well. We only had about 8 or 9 e-truggies, so there's basically 130 buggies. That'll be something if you want to travel over and have a good meeting, that'll be a 3, maybe 4 day. I'll try and keep it 3 day, but it depends on entries. We were pretty pushed last time. And we had 180 odd cars at our New Zealand title. And that was pretty tight for time, giving people maximum laps. So New Zealand Nationals hasn't been decided yet. Counties won't be running it again, but hopefully someone, maybe Christchurch or some other track, hopefully will pick it up. Wellington, who knows? That hasn't been. That's decided early October. At the moment, no one's put their hand up. But yeah, definitely, if you want to come over for a meeting, it's easy to fly into Auckland, like Jack Parsi and his family did, and the Nobles did. Fly into Auckland. We're about half an hour south of the airport, so plenty of places to stay within a minute from the track. There's probably 15 hotels to choose from within a minute or two from the track. There's all the food and all that sort of stuff's walking distance during the day. You've got the choice of probably like 10 different places to get food. From our track at Counties, we're quite lucky, so that'll be a good meeting if you want to come over and see our hopefully better weather that we'll put on in February next year. But yeah.
Yeah, no, and personally, I've been over to New Zealand racing multiple times, and it's definitely a very friendly vibe over there. You know, I'm not saying that Australia isn't a friendly vibe, but you know, the people over there are extremely helpful, for willing to go out of their way and sort of lend you a hand if you need be, which is awesome. Like as you said, flights to get over there is super easy. Most flights to get over there, because it's an international flight, you'll get at least one checked bag of 23 kilos. Certain airlines might even allow 2, but if you're taking 8 scales and stuff over, you're probably going to need 2 bags, I'd say. A couple of $100 extra bucks or something like that, and you have your 2 bags, and you'll cruise around easy with 2 bags worth of RC gear. High cars and stuff are actually pretty cheap over there in comparison to Australia, in my opinion. It's a great way to sort of get a somewhat of an overseas trip in without sort of spending massive bucks to get all the way over to the US or that sort of side of things. So if you are looking at getting over to overseas for an event, New Zealand is a great sort of option, that's for sure.
I think there's a 10th scale. Hardware is running the 10th scale nationals next year as well again, where you come over there last time.
Yeah,
that's what they're planning on, is putting the meeting on. There's no 100% confirmed stuff on it yet, but that's what they're planning on, is running the 10th scale indoor on the dirt. So that'll be another one, to come over. It's a little bit further. It's about a 5-hour drive from the airport south. But yeah, for an Australian, 5 hours drive is not that big, right? Like compared to for us, it's a big drive, 5 hours for us. So.
Yeah, that's Southside Gold Coast to Northside Brisbane on a busy day.
Exactly.
2 cities over. No, it's and that's actually a really good drive. I've done that drive. I think personally, I drove it. I think at least 2 times, and I've been a passenger for that drive for once in the back with Sturdies, so that was a bit of fun. But really nice drive. Yeah, and there's stops on the way. If you want to make a holiday of it, you got Rotorua. You got the Glowworm Caves on the way down. Mount Egmont, or I forget the name, actual name.
Yeah, no, you're on to Mount Taranaki.
Mount Taranaki. Yeah. There's things to see on the way down. So if you are looking, even just to add on an extra 2 days or something like that, you can see a fair bit in those 2 days. So definitely worth a trip over there, that's for sure. Okay. We'll move on. We'll go to recent events and all that sort of side of things. So I saw that you actually went over to the Philippine Masters, and as well as a couple of other drivers. We'll go through the other drivers as well in a minute. But Philippine Masters. First of all, how was the trip itself? Like, other than the racing sort of things, you have a bit of a holiday over there, or was it just predominantly a racing trip?
Yeah, pretty much just fly in, fly out. But yeah, it was definitely one of the top couple of meetings I've ever done in my life. I've probably done 20 to 25 overseas meetings now in my life, and that was probably the top 1 or 2. Scotty Ernest runs such a mega meeting. Most of us that have travelled have been to one of his meetings or been present when he's running a meeting, and it's just next level. Like the way he looks after everyone, the way everything's organised, and the way the Philippines people there looked after us. The first time I physically stood on the dirt was Sunday morning for the photo with everyone, so I hadn't had to marshal, hadn't had to do anything. I actually stood on the track in my jandals and shorts just for a photo, and they put marshals on for all of us, and just it's friggin' hot. Probably not, you guys probably get the temperatures, but for us down here, down under, like real down under, it was hot. So you're drinking 3+ liters of water a day and you're not going to the toilet at all. So it's going in here and it's just getting evaporated everywhere else. So I don't think I might have used the toilet once in 6 days to have a piss, because it's just that hot and that humid that you just drink a liter of water and it just disappears somewhere. So it's, you're standing up on the 3-level driver's stand with zero wind and you're just sweating. But it's quite a nice heat. So it probably took a day or two to get used to it, but after that it was fine. Like, it didn't faze me at all, to be fair. So it just took a bit for us Kiwis, especially the South Island boys that went over. They come out of 5 degree temperatures. I think Jackson, when he left his place, it was like 4 degrees, 3 degrees. So he went from 3 degrees to 37. So with the plane flight. So, but mega meeting. Definitely going to do it next year because it's that much fun. The bus picks you up, the hotel's all organised, there's breakfast every morning. Like I say, you get 8-hour practice sessions for the first 3 days and you don't have to marshal. You can just literally do bulk laps and then go and work on your car and then chuck it back on the track and go and do more. So I think between me and my mate Evan, we chewed up about 6 litres of fuel just practicing, which is, 32 tanks for 4 or 36 tanks for 4 litres. So we probably did about 50 plus tanks each, just in practice before rolling into the meeting. So, Scotty, the program Scotty runs is obviously all for live RC, so it's quite compact. But he makes it so it gets done faster and, we can go and chill out afterwards. So first race not on track till 9 and the second race and the last race wouldn't be done by like 4:30, so you're not out in the heat for 12-hour days or anything silly like that. But it was a cool track, mega grip. Didn't wear the chassis at all. I thought it would absolutely destroy the chassis, so I took 2 spare chassis just in case. But didn't even touch the chassis, so destroyed tyres, which is fine. You smoke tyres off it, but it's a good deal. So really enjoyed it.
So the track over there, so it's quite a large track in comparison to the majority of Australian. I'm guessing most New Zealand tracks as well. But they molasses the track there as well, don't they?
Yeah, they molasses it pretty much every night. They dump molasses on it. It felt slippery offline, but it was still 10 times more grip than we're used to. But definitely, if you were online and you had the car set up right, like Ongaro and Battier showed us, like the way they could just turn the corners and get out of the corners. The two of them were on another level, They were it was like carpet for them. But we were definitely not far off that. But the jumps were hard for us Kiwis, so it's not like something we've ever had to do before. So massive jumps, bulk grip, having to whip the car in the air and all that sort of stuff is not super common to us. So that definitely hurt us a little bit. But we got there by the end. We were most of the Kiwis were sort of catching a lot of the front guys, so it took us a while to catch up. But when we got there, we got there. So.
Like almost Supercross style track it looked like, but as you mentioned, massive jumps and that sort of thing. Super high paced. Looked fairly flowing as well. By from looking at the stream, it's hard to tell without actually being there in person and driving it, but it looked fairly flowing at least. Yeah,
and the beauty of it, from the Tuesday morning when we went on track to the Sunday afternoon when we finished on track, like it didn't feel any different. So you were working towards one setup and getting it right, and then you were adjusting it around, whether it was a 7-minute run or whether it was a 45-minute run. You were working on your setup to suit the run time and then tire compound and stuff like that. The temperature didn't really change too much when we were on track. It was always just hot. Okay. So you could work your setup up a lot better off that. So.
Yep. And you mentioned tyres before. We was chewing through tyres. What tyres were you running? And was there sort of a standout tyre that was sort of working there, or was it all pretty even?
So, there was 2 guys run like a bar type tyre, and that was Battier and Ongaro. But the way they drive and the way their cars are, they seem to be the only 2 type on a bar tyre. Most of us were on like a block tyre. So I was running the promotion MIG tyre and a soft long wear and a soft. A lot of guys were running like JC Reflexes, JC Detox. The Dexters were trying a lot of different JC stuff. Like Zach Ryan was on slide locks. So all the sort of tyre that works on that sort of grip. But us personally, we were just on the promotion tyre. giving them a jam and learning on them. So,
Yeah, sweet. Oh, it looked like an awesome event from the outside point of view. It would be good to head over there for one of those events. And I've been to Scotty Ernst events before, mainly an on-road event. And we got the ABC coming up in Brisbane pretty soon, so it'll be a good event to sort of check out. I'll be racing in that, just the e-buggy class and master class.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I'm coming over for that, so it'll be good.
Yep. Awesome. Yep. No, it sounded like a great event, and I'm pretty sure there's a couple other New Zealand guys coming over. Is Jaden coming over as well?
I don't think Jaden is, but you got Logan Toyer and Dylan Toyer, Graham McDougall, Jeremy Cassells, Casey Dawson, a bunch of Kiwis from counties. So, should be good. So,
And Jaden went to the Philippine Masters, though, didn't he?
Jaden Jamison?
Yep.
Nah, he went to Silver State.
He went to Silver State. Okay.
Yeah.
And he had a good run over at Silver State as well. We'll have a bit of a chat about that later. But so what other drivers were at the Philippine Masters from New Zealand?
We had Evan Crichton, who's a good mate of mine, one of my customers. Jackson Lovelady, Mark Johnson, Evan Burney, Kent Perry, Brad McGee and Keegan Levine from Wellington, and Brad Barton from Nelson. So I think there was 9 of us over there. So seems like there was about 25 odd Australians, if not more.
Yeah.
And about 9 Kiwis.
Yeah. Stand out other drivers from New Zealand that you saw?
I mean, there's lots of learning. Kent Perry was pretty fast. He had a lot of bad luck. So I think Jackson had a lot of bad luck as well. Just a lot of learning for some of the guys that went. It was a lot of learning for them. I think probably half the guys that went hadn't been out of New Zealand for RC before. So it took a lot of learning and how it all works and the pressure. It's all good racing at your local track at home and coming first or second, but when you're over there and you come in 90 something, that's where you really learn to go forward. When it comes down to those high pressure moments, when it's 2 seconds on the bump for an E-main and you've got to push, it's having that mental mind frame to learn what to do. And I think that's what they learned, a lot of them too. So they all had pretty good reliability gear-wise, which is good to see. But I think a lot of the top guys had a lot more gear failure than the Kiwis did. But it was still such a different track to what we run. We're used to getting into halfway down the straight, hitting the brakes, backing the thing in like a speedway car and sliding around the corner. You did that over there, and you were gone burgers. You roll off into the straight and hit the wall. So, or you hit the inside pipe and flip off. So, no, it was good learning for them. So,
yeah, definitely different driving style, and probably if any of those guys are coming over to Australia, it won't be too dissimilar of a driving style for the next round of the ABC. So
Zach's feedback on the grip level said it's pretty close. There's probably a couple of % different, but it's pretty close to what, because I think you guys are oiled, aren't you? I think you're oil track, and that was a sugar track, but he was saying the grip's pretty much the same. It's, within a couple of % grip wise. So you guys have a lot more hairpins there, whereas this was a bit more flowy and stuff. So, and obviously it's hotter at Philippines. So that's, apart from those couple of factors, I think it's going to be pretty close. So going to bring the same tyres over to Brisbane that we're running in the Philippines. So we did a lot of good testing there, getting about 45 minutes to an hour out of a set of tyres, which is what you want with the right grip level. So.
Yeah. Tyres should last a fair bit longer over here. It's more of almost like a tacky grip. I'm guessing the molasses over there would have been more of an abrasive grip. Is that somewhat correct?
I haven't run at Brisbane with the surface, so I'm not quite sure. Zach probably knows more about it, but a soft long wheels I'd get about an hour. So soft's about 45 minutes.
Right.
Never really traction rolled at Philippines, so like the grip wasn't out of control like that. You were flipping off, but we were running real high diff oils and high shock oils and small piston holes and stuff. So just to keep the car planted, which helped a lot. But I mean, over there you were off your wheels almost as more you were on your wheels with the way the jumps were. So, and there wasn't really that many really aggressive hairpins, so you're more rolling through the hairpins there. So,
yeah, exactly. Brilliant. Okay, so what else we got here? We got other New Zealand drivers. we'll actually talk a bit about Jaden Jamieson. He went over to Silver State rather than going to the Philippine Masters. I'm guessing he probably would have gone to the Philippine Masters if it had not been the very week before. But he had a great run over in Silver State in Las Vegas in
Yeah,
US.
exactly. Yeah, looked like hell. I mean, I've done 3 of those now, and that one looked like the best one. You know, the way they made the track a bit wider, a bit more lanes. The jump's not as gnarly. You know, old mate, forget his name, from Anthony from Factory Tracks, obviously doing a lot of the stuff now as well with Joey, and obviously really dialed the dirt in to suit the track, to suit what they needed to do and to make it flow a bit nicer. So I think I went the first year I think they ever ran. I went the very first time, and man, it was just so bumpy. Like it was unbelievable. They were down to the concrete in some spots. They'd chewed that much dirt off some of the holes, so it was just mental. So they've really learned. But yeah, it looked like a fun meeting. So hopefully they put some time between the Philippines and Silver State next year, because I really want to do both of them. So chatting to Scotty, I think he had 5 hours at home between Philippines and Silver State to wash his clothes. So he obviously left Philippines on the Monday, and then he would have got back sometime Tuesday-ish, and he had a 5-hour window to wash his clothes, hop back on the plane, because he had to be at Silver State obviously Tuesday night, because they start Wednesday morning. So he had like a 48-hour window to leave the Philippines, get home to Wisconsin, wash his clothes, and fly to Vegas. So like he got to Philippines 3 days before us and started prepping. So he was at the Philippines like 10 or 11 days at the track, and then he had 5 hours at home, and then he was at Silver State for 6 days. So hopefully hopefully they put a week or two between so we can do both, because right now they look like the 2 best meetings. Having done DNC this year with all the rain and that sort of stuff, they look like the 2 best meetings to do next year if nothing else changes for the moment. So
what a absolute crazy old man.
Lives and breathes it, right? Like he's been doing it longer than me, and he just absolutely lives and breathes it, and he loves the Philippines. Like he's in his element there, and he loves just loves RC. The man just loves RC.
You can hear the passion in his voice when he's calling and stuff. Definitely has a strong passion for our hobby, which is what we 100%. Need.
Yeah. Such a great ambassador for the sport. So.
On that as well, ABC coming up. Obviously, you're coming over. We've got a couple other Kiwis, as you mentioned, coming over. The Toyas coming over, which would be great. I don't know when I'm guessing Toyas probably last came over for probably the Worlds, I guess, over in Perth.
No, they didn't do the Worlds.
They didn't do the Worlds?
I don't think. I'm trying to think what Logan's done something. Can't remember what it was. Well, Logan did DNC with me this year. Logan and Nathan come over and did DNC this year. So that was his first proper big meeting. He ran a proper class and learned a lot from that. I don't know what they've done else apart from that in Aussie, but yeah.
Canberra. There we go. So Canberra 2018, Logan still said. Yep.
Oh, nice. There you go. Yeah.
Makes it easy when the person we're talking about jumps on in.
He knows where he's been, so that's good. No, it'll be good. It'll be good to have Logan over there. He's pretty fast here at the moment, so he's for 15. I think he's 15. He'll correct you. He'll correct you if I haven't got it wrong. But for 15, I only started at 15, so to see him the speed he has now at 15 and the way I think mostly about Logan is the way he looks at the car setup and tries stuff and changes stuff. As a 15-year-old kid. At his age, I was definitely interested in anything else but working on an RC car, and the way he's doing that and learning and all that sort of stuff is pretty cool. So I think that's going to take him a long way. If he doesn't end up driving, I think he'll be very involved in RC for the future, because wrenching and being a mechanic myself and enjoying that side of it as well is good to see. So, and his younger little brother Dylan, he's 11 or 12, making the Nationals A main at counties, with 80-something nitro buggies, and he made the Nationals at counties the top 12 with some way more experienced guys that he kicked out of the main. That was pretty cool to see young Dylan do that as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Fast toy. He's 9, you muppet.
he's 9. Oh, that makes it even worse. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah. Toys. Fast kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually remember meeting Logan for one of the Howetta in his New Zealand Nationals a while ago, and he definitely seemed a lot older than 15, and that was about 3 years
Yeah.
ago now. So something's
Yeah,
going on there. I think he's like Carlos from the Benchwarmers or whatever his name is.
Yeah. His old man probably has a bit to do with it as well. He's pretty on
it. Yeah. New Zealand Nationals are counties. We had a massive Aussie, well, not massive, I'd say, but a strong Aussie contingency go over for that event, and I'd take some of the big trophies home, I'd say, and it seemed like a great event. Probably a proactive event, one of the probably most proactive events I've sort of ever seen for our hobby. Quite often we sort of end up just going, oh, we'll wait and see what happens, and you guys noticed that you had a massive amount of rain coming. You had warning and all this stuff, which definitely helped, but shorten the schedule up to make sure that you didn't have to race on, I think it was just a Sunday or only like half a Saturday along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean, in the past, we've had the Wayne Walkers, the Zach Ryans, the Ian Haley's, those sort of guys come over and have one at a time come over and normally destroy us, lap us 1,000 times, and then go home. Kyle McBride, when he lapped second place 13 times or whatever at our nationals. So we've had those guys come over and do that. So it was quite cool to have a couple of them over. Obviously, young fellas, fast, A lot of the races were, I called it the battle of the kids. So there was Jaden, Logan, Jack, and Caleb. So those 4 were just on another level. I was just sitting there in 5th all the time, just having some laps. But the battle of the kids, which was good to see. It's great for the sport, obviously, to have those young fellas doing that. So showing us how it's done, and then us older boys can tell them how to set their cars up properly. So that's quite important too. But yeah, Nationals was supposed to be a 4-day event. We had, off the top of my memory, we had about 100 races roughly, or 90 races, and we had about 180 odd cars. So we knew that the schedule was going to be tight. Richard Price was our timekeeper, and Daryl Maslin ran the meeting for us, some Kiwi guys here. And then, Sunday forecast was looking shocking. That was the first of one of our major floods here. So we pushed through, ran till 11 o'clock almost every night, 7 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night for 3 days. Got it done. Everyone got all the finals they wanted, all the junior finals, the 40-plus races that we added this year, just to add a bit more of a mix to it. Obviously, a couple of us traveling, seen that 40-plus and those junior races, how much it means to those guys. We brought it in, the club themselves brought it in as a invitational, basically put a gap between some of the other mains just to give people time to get ready. So we chucked those races in, and that was awesome to see as well. We've done races in our county's cup meeting. We do the same, and we run a dash for cash for money, and it's all drawn out of a hat to who gets to race it, and junior mains, and what we've done that as county's cup. So we initiated that into a nationals. The time constraints didn't help with it, but we still got it all done. Everyone was out by Saturday. I stayed at the track. I was locking up every night, and I woke up Sunday morning to our car park basically underwater. And I couldn't even hop out of the caravan that I was staying in. It was pelting down that much. So we made the right call. Everyone got their racing and got the Sunday off. So yeah, we only just got lights at counties. So we're one of the first tracks for outdoor to have lights in New Zealand. So I know you guys have quite a lot of them over there, but we're the first in New Zealand to have permanent lights like that. So we can just flick them on with a switch. So we're lucky enough to have that with all the counties committee that pushed hard to get that done, and that saved the weekend being able to run that meeting like that. So that was pretty cool. So, and then having the Aussie kids up, Caleb, I've watched Caleb for the last 10 years as he was knee high to a grasshopper racing, and now he's 4 inches taller than me, and it's been cool to watch his progress and see him go. And then Jack's obviously up and coming, and hanging out with him in the Philippines and stuff, and that was pretty cool watching him do his thing. And some of the lap times that Jack set at the Philippines was on Angara's pace, but they didn't have the reliability or the consistency to do it, which is just coming of age and learning. But man, in the next 3 or 4 years, your likes of your Toyas and your Jack Parsi and those kids are going to be mental fast. This new age of whipping cars and flying through the air, moving all the wheels like this and doing this crap. But I'm trying to teach some of my customers how to do it as well. I'm not the greatest at doing it, but I'm definitely not on the young kids level. But that whole new way of saving a car, if it helps you once in a 30-minute main, it's worth it. If you can learn to do that, it is so much better for your driving. But yeah, you just got to be careful not to overdo it. Some people back in the day, Shane Mangu, used to whip everything, every time the wheels are in the air, whip it, and majority of the time it would make him slower. So it's just learning where the edges on when to whip and what to do with it. So, which takes a lot of practice and a lot of mental strain as well to do it. So,
yeah, for sure. Talking on Shane Mangu, it's a name that I know pretty well, but I actually haven't heard for a while up until the last sort of week. How's he going? Is he, still racing pretty often? He hasn't sort of popped up in massive.
He come down and he does a lot of our tracks down at counties, so he's on the diggers and stuff. He's magic, He built our last counties track. All the shaping, all that sort of stuff between me, him, and Kyle George, another mate of mine. We sort of did a lot of the shaping and the design of the track. Roger Van Dawson did the design, and we sort of shaped it up for him. So Mungy's really good on the diggers. He come down and run nationals. That was his first meeting in a couple of years that he's run. So he come down and spun the wheel with us and cooked us. I think we had the first night we had lamb, then we had chicken, pork, and the last night I think we had a big bit of beef. So he was our master chef for the weekend. So he was on the food all weekend, which was quite good. So he's a good chef. So, but no, he's had two kids now. So and he's got a pretty crazy business with a bunch of employees. So he's real busy doing that. He will come back one day full time. I think he's going to come back for the Counties Cup in February. He's told me that he's going to come back and spin wheels again. So he's already agreed to do the track again, which is good. So, but yeah, he'll lay us down a killer track, and then hopefully cut some laps with us. So,
yeah, no, it's awesome. A really good dude, and I've had many chats with him in the past when I was over there last time. So he's probably one of the nicest guys I've been in the RC scene. The Mad Mary, that's it.
Mad Mary, they call him.
All right. So overall racing scene in New Zealand, I mean, the entry numbers you've been saying is comparable to Australia. Obviously, the distances in Australia are probably not easy to travel, especially when you have, say, nationals over in Perth this year. But those entry numbers seem like equal to what we're getting to most of our nationals and stuff. What do you sort of put that down to? Obviously, New Zealand has a big background in racing, but is there more to it than that?
I mean, we have 2 8-scale tracks in Auckland that are running once or twice a month. Like an indoor off-road is very strong. We have, a lot of long history, and I think running the club days that we run at counties, we can get sometimes between 40 and 50 nitro buggies and more than that in e-buggies for a club day. So we've topped just over 100 cars for a club day every now and then. And to try and fit that in a 6-7 hour window is just mental, So just getting really good numbers, offering long mains for nitro. We run all the electric mains first. So we've got a lot of guys that just run electric only, so they can bugger off at 2 o'clock and go and watch Formula One or supercars or whatever. And then us nitro boys can go and do our, the D main or Marshall, the A main and so on. And then we'll roll through the mains that way. Doing that, so we keep the electric guys real keen, and then the guys that really want to do the long mains, they can hang around till 4:30 in the afternoon and do half an hour mains and fuel stops and all that sort of stuff. So, and keeping it fun, just not too serious, keeping it fun, no drama, no stress. If you swear or you curse or you yell, Mark, you get any of that sort of stuff, you're out, mate. The gate's over there, And we have moved people out in the past, getting too crazy and kicking stands and throwing radios and all that sort of stuff. And, I'm just like, see you, mate, this is not the scene for you. So keeping it relaxed and chilled. A lot of kids. And we had a 5-year-old that ran out at nationals at counties. We had a 5-year-old that ran e-buggy and e-truggy, Had the time of his life, him and his father, and then left happy as Larry, Where awesome. I feel you go to previous nationals or you go to like overseas stuff, a 5-year-old kind of wouldn't gel in that sort of scene, Whereas when we were able to run a 5-year-old, I think we had a 7-year-old as well that ran nationals and electric classes, had a great time and then went home, So that's what it was all about, I think. And that 5-year-old kid, if he keeps racing in 10 years' time, what's to say that someone like myself or someone takes him overseas and he makes an A main at Silver State or something, you know, like that to me would be like that's awesome. That gets my blood flowing as someone like that. Sort of which makes me passionate about the Toyas and that and Logan and stuff is helping them out and trying to teach them and getting a bit shitty at them sometimes and saying, oh, you're doing this wrong, or hey, you need to step this up, or don't be lazy and get off your computer and do some wrenching on your car or whatever, or your Game Boy or whatever the hell they're doing these days. And then, you know, and trying to push them to, and, you know, to be faster and learn more. And I know Nathan's quite passionate with Logan about that as well. So between the two of us, sort of push him to help him be what he wants to be, you know, that sort of side of it. And like the 5-year-old kid, having him come round, and I handed him a signed body the other day, one of my old shells, you know, that I'd probably just throw away one day, and I signed it and gave it to the kid, and like his eyes were just like, holy crap, you know, like this little 5-year-old kid who's just started school and you're giving him a signed RC shell and he's just fizzing, you know, and that sort of stuff to me is pretty cool. And had a young fella, Jaden Chitty, that you probably know of, that I helped out for a long, long time. He's now found cars and girls, and not racing currently, but he was a young fella that, you know, I took him over to pre-wheels and did all that sort of stuff and took him over for a Silver State, you know, and he got to race. He won the e-buggy sportsman class, you know, over at Silver State, and that was pretty cool to be involved and you know, helping those sort of young kids get to that level is
Yeah, we're losing you a little bit there, but you know, Jaden, really good kid as well. Yeah, he'll be back though. I can see him coming back to racing in the next sort of 3-5 years when he snaps out of that sort of scene. We've all been there, I would say. So he'll be back.
Exactly.
But yeah. No, exactly. You actually mentioned a fair bit of what my next sort of topic was, and it was sort of your racer development and stuff that you have going for, you know, younger kids and all that sort of things. Like, you obviously are passionate about the hobby and stuff, and you want to help the younger sort of generation to not just, you know, go faster, but also stay within the hobby. So that is our main sort of thing that we sort of, especially as of lately, you know, the young kids aren't as interested in our hobby as what they are possibly in other things such as, you know, racing games and stuff on a laptop or, you know, Xbox and PlayStation, that sort of side of things. Is, you know, there's a lot of stuff that we have to contend with, I guess. So, you know, what do you sort of try to focus on when you see a young racer coming to the track and say, you know, they want to go quicker? You can tell they want to go quicker. Do you sort of, you know, where do you go from there?
I mean, firstly, it's not having them buy a piece of shit. You know, there's a lot of crap out there that they show up with and spend a bunch of money on. And when they come, I try and find them like a second-hand e-buggy for $300 or $400, chuck some cheap electronics in it, and they'll just go forever, you know. Sometimes I'll try and push them in the 10 scale way as well, but my main passion's 8 scale. Obviously, that's where I enjoy it. So I try and find a cheap e-buggy and get them racing for under $1,000. If you can be racing every second weekend for under $1,000 Kiwi, and that'll be gear that'll run all year, it's pretty cheap, you know, like a PlayStation 5's probably that, isn't it, to buy? $800, $700 for a PlayStation, you know, like spend $1,000 and you're out of the house every second Sunday. Over here, you can run 3 times a month actually with the West Track. So within a half an hour drive, if you live central, you can run 3 times a month and hoon your toy car around the track, plus show up to practice days and some of the night stuff we do after work, and, you know, like get out of the house and wrench on it. More the wrenching as well, you know, building them and cleaning them and doing that sort of stuff. And, you know, even watching that 5-year-old young fellow go out there and he cleans his bodies, you know, and his wings. So the dad will give him the wings and he'll go and clean all the dirt off the wings and the bodies, you know, like a normal 5-year-old kid these days will just want the phone and play Candy Crush or whatever, you know. It's and seeing that side of it and run around with the other kids and throwing them at each other. That's sort of what I grew up in, the speedway side of things as well. So that side of it appeals to me as well.
Oh, one big thing you mentioned there as well was the secondhand market, and we do have a massive secondhand market. I think it's sort of overseen, I'd say, a lot. Like even the other night, I was doing race calling for the MOTM series, just my own series at the Go Track, and I had a fella that sort of, he's been bashing around in their Traxxas cars for a while now, and he says he's looking at, you know, potentially buying a full brand new car and what should I recommend? And I said to him, like, look, if you're just starting out, the secondhand market is where you should be buying from to start off with. It's not even just a case of you might not like it. It's just a case that to start off with, it's an easy option. It's a cheap option, and it's an option that is going to be just as reliable as a new car for probably half the price just to start you off. You don't need that brand new car to start off with.
No, and you make a lot of mistakes on the secondhand stuff. So you make mistakes on the secondhand stuff so that when you roll into the new stuff, you kind of know what you're doing a bit more as well,
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, exactly. And, myself personally, like I'll end up probably taking secondhand stuff over to the world in a couple of months. So it's not like we're getting, you're getting trash cars or anything like that. A lot of the time it's just people that have sort of moved up, either to a new car or, somewhere along those lines, and they're just offloading, a car if they've changed brands and that sort of thing. So the secondhand market is definitely great for sort of entering races and that sort of side of things, just to get them a foot in the door at least.
100%. I took a brand new XB4 X-Ray to the China Worlds, and I was really struggling with it on the semi-low grip that they had there. And I went over to Gord Testman and I said, "Hey, mate, I'm from New Zealand. I'm really struggling to get this car to work. Can you show me some stuff, And he's like, "Oh, the main problem is you're running a brand new car." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Take all the arms off, bring me all the arms, bring me all this over." And then he just gets the drill and he just drills everything and reams through all the arms and puts it back on the car. It's all floppy. And he says, "Now go and drive it." And I went out and drove it. And I'm like, whoa. So I was like at 1.5 seconds a lap faster. Because I had a new car, it was all tight and binding, and he just put a 4mm drill through everything and said, "Now go drive it," And you don't feel his car, and the arms are all sloppy and the hubs are all sloppy, but that's what gets grip. So that was what he did. Yeah, I showed up with a new car and I shouldn't have. So
my old man's actually just given me a note saying when Gisbergen to NASCAR in July. I'd actually seen the buddy. Yeah, I saw the news myself only a couple hours ago, and I think he's only just doing at least the one race to my knowledge at this stage.
Yeah, he's just doing the one at the moment. He's just doing the one at the moment. But yeah, it's a road course, so it'll suit him. NASCAR doesn't do a road course. I don't think they've ever done a road course. Not last year anyway, but a lot of street circuits, a lot of like road courses, but it's the first street course,
Yeah.
I think that'll suit him a lot, doing all the V8 supercar stuff. So that'll he'll be able to push some guys around and give it back, and he can definitely take it. So he'll be able to give it back, and I think that'll suit him a little bit more as well. So he, being a good mate of his, he loves getting into the biffo, is probably what most sees, and he enjoys it. So, and he's competitive, and I think this will suit him a lot. So if he gets to top 20, I think it'll be good. If he can get top 20 or something, he'll be doing really well, because he was telling me the other day he only gets like half a day practice or something. He gets like a couple of half an hour stints on track. It's not much. So he's going to an oval track the week before just to watch, but he doesn't get to drive, and then he's doing a couple like half a day of testing or something. So he'll literally be pretty fresh. But it'll be fun. So it's he come down the track. He came down the counties like 3 weeks ago and turned some laps in one of my cars and just showed up. He was doing the rally over here and a rally test, and just showed up and cut some laps in the RC car. And I think I was doing about a 32-second lap time, and it only took him about 10 laps, and he was about a second off my time. And I've been racing for the last 5 years solid. So he's got that mind frame that it doesn't matter what he drives. Like we all know, he just cuts laps fast. So
he knows how to wheel car. I think top 20 would be good. I wouldn't be surprised if he can wheel it up a little bit higher, even, to be honest. But let's see how he goes. Obviously, as you said, Chicago, it's a first time for all the drivers there, so it'll be interesting as well in itself. New track. I'm pretty sure they have done other street tracks. I can't think of many, but one that I can actually remember, I'm pretty sure the NASCAR actually came to the Gold Coast when it was Indy.
Oh, did they? Wow. That'd be a while ago.
That was a long time ago. I think they weren't yet there the year that I actually went for the Indy. I remember going when I was probably a 6-year-old kid, and I remember hearing the scream of the Indy cars going past, not being able to see them because I was a little kid at yay high, and the barrier was taller than me. So I thought, okay, well, this is pointless. But anyway, but yeah, they weren't there that year. I think they were there the years before that for, I think, 2 years, if I remember rightly. And then, that was about it.
Nice.
A little bit of history. So yeah, no, it'd be good to see Gizzy up and over in the US battling it out with those boys over there, and getting his shoulders out and seeing how he goes. That'll be awesome. We'll start to sort of wrap things up. Basil Ways also mentioned he also looks after his old folks, which is great. So mentioning Outlaw RC and yourself. We'll start to wrap things up. We've been talking for close to an hour now. Good chat from, say, obviously about yourself to start off with, previous events, racing in New Zealand, that sort of side of things as well. As we mentioned, anyone that's interested in going to race over New Zealand is a great sort of experience to sort of get your foot in the door of overseas racing without spending massive bucks on going all the way over to, say, the US or that sort of side of things. Great clubs over there, as you mentioned as well, like massive numbers for even just club meetings and that sort of side of things. Like we, lately at least, seemingly on the Southeast Queensland area, we have weekly racing virtually, whether it be at Logan, Pine Hill, Sunshine Coast, and all three of the clubs aren't exactly, I would say, thriving. I'd say Logan's probably doing the best out of the three, but not exactly thriving to those sort of numbers. So it'd be interesting to see if we can take a bit of a turn and sort of change that, whether we have to do a couple of different things or not, where, I'm sure Logan will be looking into it and that sort of side of things. But yeah, very interesting. I think that Pine Hill is actually doing a track change, or at least a working bee this weekend as well.
Zach said he's changing about 50%, isn't he? I think Zach was saying.
Yeah. So that's in preparation for the ABC and stuff. So that'll be good as well.
I think it's
fresh
about
layout for everyone.
200 entries, isn't there? I think for that.
Yeah. So they originally capped it. Yeah, originally capped it at 200 entries. I think they have opened up to about 220 now, because that does not affect the actual length of the day. So there is a couple of extra spots. I think there's not many for, say, like E-Truggy, and I think there's not many for Nitro Truggy. I'm not 100% sure.
Why is Nitro Truggy so small in Aussie?
Don't know. I really don't know. Like E-Truggy is actually coming through pretty strong as of late. Like I know Meek and last couple of meets, they've had like a solid field of E-Truggies, and you'll get like even Nitro Buggy itself. Like I think for Logan last week, they had one Nitro Buggy entry. But E-Buggy itself, like it's raging. Like it's still, had 30 plus entries or something for E-Buggy. So it's an interesting one. But as soon as a big event comes out, then Nitro is a glory. Everyone sort of turns up for it. So but yeah, it's an interesting thing, that's for sure. But yeah, nonetheless, mate, like I said, our chat and a great chat as well. This will be uploaded onto YouTube later on once I work out how to do this. Obviously, I'm using new software. If people haven't noticed, my previous streams being just direct through Facebook and being pretty crap, to be honest. So if you do want to rewatch this, I think it should be available on Facebook and YouTube, and working on the sort of Spotify stuff as well. So massive thank you to Shane of jumping on and helping me out here and that sort of side of things, and being a bit of a test on me for this sort of side of things. So thank you very much, Shane, for jumping on.
Thanks for the invite, mate. It's cool to lay some stuff out, and there's probably in a year or two, there's probably another hour's worth of stuff I could say. But for the moment, it's just RC is fun and it's cool, and it's why we do it. It's like Formula One, but you don't have to be inside the car, so you can race it around and fuel it and jump it and crash it, and you get to go home with minimal injuries. So yeah, no, exactly right. And we'll see you over here in a couple of weeks' time for the ABC. Yeah, we're coming over. So I gonna hang out with Gizzy on the Wednesday and go and check out Triple Eight and have a bit of a look around Brisbane, and then go and do some racing on Thursday to Sunday. And he's got the weekend off, so I'll try and get him to come over look one day and check it all out again like he used to. But we'll come over there with the Toyas and Dougal and a bunch of the Kiwis and cut some laps and drive Nitro buggies on carpet-like surface. For us, it's not normal. Yeah. Not too easy, mate. And once again, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one. All right, cheers, eh?